Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing the new Pet Sematary. This was directed by Kevin Kloch and Dennis Widmer, and it stars Jason Clarke, John Lithgow and Amy Seimetz. It's another adaptation of Stephen King classic novel Pet Sematary. It only tells the story of Dr. Lewis Reed and his wife Rachel. They relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their two young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their home. After the tragedy of their cat being killed by a truck, Lewis resorts to burying it in the mysterious pet cemetery, which is definitely not as it seems, as opposed to the creeds that sometimes dead is better. While they're there, strange things start to happen, and after a tragedy, certain decisions are made, and this ultimately has a detrimental effect on the family and the community at large. And it really looks at the struggles that this family goes through and the choices that are made by Dr. Loomis Reed that really put everybody in peril. And it all leads to quite a confrontational and shocking ending, I guess you could say. Now, I really liked this film. It was a lot better than I anticipated it to be. After seeing the trailer, I wasn't quite sure about it. I was a big fan of the original two Pet Sematary films, this Pet Sematary 1 and 2, that came out in the 90s. They were directed by Mary Lambert. Now these two films I thought were quite good. They're very iconic of the horror, and they sort of a great representation, I think, of the Stephen King sort of novel that they're based upon. What this does differently is it spends a bit more time with the family, I think, and we get a bit more understanding of who they are as people. And there's a lot of depth to particular characters, especially Amy Seimetz's character, who plays Rachel. She's kind of a really interesting character, has a backstory that we learn throughout the film, and I kind of liked that. That was something that was a bit different to the original. John Lithgow's character, playing Judd, the next door neighbour, he's really fantastic as well, and a great role for him. I haven't seen him this good in quite a while, and I was impressed with his performance. And there's a lot of depth and things going on with his character as well. But the way he differs to a lot of actors is he just has a presence of being there. He's been in so many films and he just has a presence on screen. And he doesn't have to do a lot, and you don't have to know a lot about his characters for him to really convey the character he's playing. And I think he does a great job here. There's a lot of differences in this film, especially the ending. There's things that takes place in the ending that are very different to the original film. So it really feels like the directors had taken the original source material, the Stephen King novel, and just sort of did their interpretation of it. So I wouldn't say it's a remake of the original film, it's just a reinterpretation of the story, a retelling of a similar story. And I kind of like that. I like in some of it, you think it's going one way and it quickly turns the other. I kind of like that. There was references to the original film and choices that were made to veer from what you'd seen in previously in the original film, and I kind of like that as well. There's a lot of spookiness to this film, which I really like, and unsettlingness, and it's a good solid horror. I was impressed with it. There are some criticisms I do have with the film. There are way too many jump scares throughout it. It isn't completely filled with them. There's way too many in it, and they could have dulled that back down. We've seen great films like The Conjuring and movies like that, and Insidious, where they're able to do horror and scary moments without resorting to jump scares. And I just felt that this film could have done with some of those more than the jump scares they used. There's a lot of foreshadowing, which is done quite well here. In a lot of horror movies, they don't do as much foreshadowing of things to come as they used to. And if they do it, it's very in your face and very obvious, where this was very subtle about its hints at foreshadowing of things that were to come later in the film, and I kind of like that. I like the look of the cemetery. I thought it was really great. I like the way it was shot. It has some really great and creepy moments in it. It really looks at the stuff the characters are haunted by and feel guilt about. And we get to see those sort of things in the backstory, and I kind of like that. Jason Clarke's character, Lewis, there isn't a lot of depth to him. We don't know a lot about him, and I didn't get a real sense of who he was. And I felt they should have spent a bit more time with his character, especially since he's really the main character and really the driving force behind a lot of the direction of the film. And I just felt we could have spent a bit more time developing his character than we did. Amy, who played Rachel in the film, I thought she was really great. An actress I don't think I've ever seen her in anything before, and I really want to see more of her. I think she did a fantastic job, and she was very believable and convincing as this character, and I really liked that about her. The other thing I really liked is the actress playing the daughter, Jajit. Lawrence. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. She's fantastic, especially towards the end of the film. And I think she just is really impressive in this, one of the best young actors in horror today. And I think I really like that. I really love the designs of the masks, especially that scene in the trailer, ultimately, where the kids are taking the dog to the pet cemetery and they all have their own little masks and they're doing like this funeral procession. That was really great. I liked the creepiness of the cemetery and the surrounding areas. And I like when we got to learn a bit more of the backstory of how this place sort of works and how it's able to bring things back. And I kind of like that. I like a bit of backstory like that and a bit of exposition on particular myths about what their ideas are or why these people come back or these animals come back. And John Lithgow's character, Judd, provides that information. And I really like that. There was a couple of sequences in it and choices of characters made I wasn't quite sure really worked or why they sort of did it. And it brought me out of it a little bit trying to work out why they made these decisions. But overall, I was impressed with this film. I thought it was a good, solid horror and much better than I anticipated, and I had a good time with it. And it was a really good audience I was sitting with as well. I liked a lot of the music that's used, and I just thought it was a very solid film. Final verdict. Look, if you like a good, solid horror film, you really enjoy this. If you're a fan of the original Pet Sematary, you might enjoy this as well, but just know it's different in areas to the original. And if you just like a good, solid, scary horror movie told in an interesting way with kind of interesting characters and really solid performances, this is definitely for you. I'm going to give Pet Sematary 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed myself. I thought it was above average horror film, and I was really impressed with what I did see and experience through the film. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.